Yeah, so I'm Jim Reading. Got involved in the foundation back when we first put the foundation together from basically the board members of the hospital, and I believe that was back in 1997, 1998. And I had been on the hospital board about 6 or 8 years prior to that, and part of my job or my expertise were here again pre-foundation were to take and to supervise and manage as an owner's rep a medical office building. And the hospital was successful in creating an office condominium for the doctors to be able to practice in the hospital and walk from the hospital to the medical office building. So we actually built a 60,000 square foot building at the time. It was a $6 or $8 million project, very large. And six or seven of the doctors that were on the hospital board actually bought into the building as a condominium. The condominium was not fully subscribed when we broke ground, so there was a small percentage, it was around 10 or 12%, ownership in the building that had to be filled or had to be purchased to build the building. So the hospital agreed to fund that particular small quantity. But what that did was it started a new entity called Chesimont Valley Ventures. And Chesimont Valley Ventures was able to take and to create over, we're still about 10 years pre-foundation. We were able to take and to buy other buildings and invest in other real estate to turn the buildings into medical space for the young doctors that were coming into the area to help grow the hospital. So now I'm up to 1997, and the foundation then was created then. Dick Kunch, which you have heard earlier, was part of one of the members. I think we had around 10 or 12 members on the board when we first created the foundation. Well, it was a community hospital that was owned by the community. We competed with several other hospitals, that touched our service area, such as Pottstown Hospital, and to the east or the south, Paoli Memorial Hospital in those areas. So we were very conscious of the competition. We were conscious also of wanting to take and to continue for the hospital to grow the service, the residents in the area. And that was one reason why the hospital board decided to sell the hospital, which was pre-97 and was Community Health Foundation. I guess getting to understand a new owner of the hospital, which was not.
I need you to rephrase the question. So some of the challenges we faced in the beginning.
Okay. Some of the challenges that we faced in the beginning were understanding how the hospital was going to be run by the new owners and how the foundation was going to interrelate to the new owners and the new management, of the hospital, such as we knew that the hospital needed to keep up with the growth of the area. The reason we sold the hospital was because we needed a lot of capital that we knew we couldn't raise to keep on expanding the hospital, turning the semi-private rooms into private rooms and expanding the cancer center and things like that. So we watched and encouraged the new owners, Community Health. At that time it was still Penn. Penn had bought the hospital. So we watched and encouraged Penn with the expansion of programs and the expansion of some of the real estate and the money that was needed for new programs and so on and so forth. It was to support the community, because the community built the hospital, previously. Support all of the nonprofits in the area that the foundation board saw fit to fund, and to manage the money that was earned, so to speak, in selling the hospital, and to perpetuate the foundation, for forever. Well, I'm an emeritus now, so I'm not as active, obviously, as I had been for my first 20 years. There is around $1.5 million to $2 million of grants that are given to various organizations. Some as small as $5,000 or $10,000, and some as large. The clinic that we have in Phoenixville, is hundreds of thousands of dollars. But every year, there's been that level of contributions or grants made, within the community. So that times 20 some years is a huge number, and it continues. Well, that's a great question. We worked very closely with Penn after they bought the hospital.
It's a great question that you need to rephrase.
Okay. Okay.
So, some of the issues or objections in the community that we faced made us better. Like, I'm not, I don't even know how to rephrase the question.
Well, let me start out again. So after the purchase of the hospital by Penn, the reason for the community to sell was to continue with expansion of the hospital in a lot of different ways. And to do that, there was actually real estate needed to take and to expand the whole hospital campus. And prior to even the foundation being formed, we created this Chestmont Valley Ventures, which was a small owner in the medical office building. And so Chestmont Valley Ventures was the front person for almost 10 years to take and to buy several properties that were needed to expand the hospital. And those negotiations and Penn wanting us to be the front person to amass this real estate around the hospital to expand it was at times interesting and challenging, because there were people in the community that, even though they knew that it was the Phoenixville Hospital was the place, obviously, that their family went to, they just didn't want it to expand. Just didn't want it in their backyard.
Like Jim said, it was.
So back to Chestmont, let me think that through. So the timeline of Chestmont Valley Ventures, that was pre-foundation. So that was started back when the medical office building was built.
Yep.
I'll say that was 1990, when Chestmont was originally incorporated to have a small ownership percentage in the medical office building. And the Chestmont Valley Ventures had a group of a committee of 4 to 6 of us that met maybe on a quarterly basis and would stay tuned in to the hospital. And at that time, it was say with Penn was the owner, and Penn and Chestmont would have meetings, and we would talk about how Chestmont could effectuate the expansion of the hospital campus the way Penn wanted to expand, which was really needed for the community. So in the late 90s and early 2000, probably up to about 2005, there was 10 or 12 properties that were actually purchased by Chestnut for the expansion of the hospital by Penn.
Just because we're talking about properties, somewhere in there, the foundation offices moved.
Yeah, well, we came up with, Chestnut.
So can you just explain?
Yeah.
2004 is when University of Penn.
Okay, I said 5.
Yeah, you were
Okay.
good. You were close to
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah. So the original offices were owned by Chestnut Valley Ventures, the original offices for the foundation down in Valley Forge Commons. And we had bought 3 or 4 units there and had put 2 or 3 doctors in the other 3 units, and we had a 4th unit left over, so to speak, that could be medical or general office. And then that's when we decided, when the Health Foundation was created, then we decided to open up the offices in that medical office building. Fast forwarding to 8 or 10 years later, after Penn expanded after Penn came in and bought the hospital and started to expand the campus, Chestnut noticed that there was a building for sale in the hospital block at Gay and Griffin, which was an old house. And we decided to invest in that particular property. At the time when Chestnut bought that property, we weren't sure whether it was going to be medical office or it was going to be expansion just for the hospital. But under their master plan, it wasn't needed. And so the foundation office was moved. We renovated the building to accommodate the foundation. And the foundation was moved then in 2005 or 2006 to its current location. Well, I think the foundation has had, a tremendous impact on the community just by looking at the numbers and the amount of grants that they're able to take and to, give in the community to help all the different nonprofits. And that is, those grants total, several million a year and have been perpetuated with good management at the foundation level for the investment portfolio that the foundation has, being good stewards of that money, making that grow properly. And I think that's why we have the nest egg, or the foundation has the nest egg that it does now. Well, the initial value of the hospital, besides valuing the bricks and sticks, was based on income and expenses. And it had a certain amount of profit annually. And the profit then is extrapolated into a value for the hospital that some new entity, can purchase that is in the hospital business, so to speak, and wants to expand into it, into a new marketplace. So there were RFPs that were put out, requests for proposals to buy the hospital. They were put out nationally. On the first sale that we had, we were lucky enough to have 2 sales about 10 years apart. And the first sale was the University of Pennsylvania came in and offered the best deal, with the best best contingency, so to speak. And we sold for $30 million with a kicker of $20 million if the hospital was ever resold. After Penn was operating the hospital for approximately 10 years, they decided to keep their expansion activities and monies in the city in Philadelphia, and then decided to sell the hospital to Community Health Services. And at that time, there was another $20 million that we were successful in a second mortgage, so to speak, in receiving. And so that 50-some million has been the basis of the foundation's monies. Probably the cancer center expansion.
The most important thing.
Most important thing was the cancer center expansion. About 20 years, rephrasing, about 15 years ago, when Community Health Services has owned the hospital, they wanted to expand the cancer center. And at that time, there was around $2 million of monies needed to take and to expand, to bring the expansion up to the newest and latest technology. And so the CEO of the hospital came to me and said, "What do you think about this, building a cancer center?" I said, "We can't build a cancer center. I mean, I don't know how we can finance that either." And we had a couple different meetings and decided that the hospital would sign a 15-year, a long-term lease. We started to negotiate a rental rate to support the investment. And then Chestmont went back to the foundation and asked if they would be interested in investing in this very profitable venture to expand the cancer center. Financially, it would be the monies would be paid back through a long-term lease, and that happened.